Hi, welcome back to the workshop for episode 4 of the Great Guitar Build Off 2021 series. There's quite a lot to get through in this episode. It's taken me well over a week to complete the work, so let's get started. Okay, so in the last episode we got the wings of the body glued on. We cut the chamber in there for the controls. My goal for this episode is to do the carve on the body, both the front and there's some sections of the back that are going to need a bit of work as well, and also to design, shape and fit the tuners to the headstock. But I'm going to start at the body and really just talk you through what I've got in mind for this. Now when I say I'm going to carve it, I'm not going to do a kind of a traditional Les Paul type carve on it. What I intend to do is I'm going to mark a line all the way around the body, leaving about 6 to 8 mil of the maple top. I'm then going to carve that away from the top in a series of bevels, which I'll then blend and smooth in to give me the effect that I want. I haven't really got a massively detailed plan for this. I'm just going to sketch some lines on and stop carving when it looks right. Okay, so that's given me a rough idea of where I need to be on the side. In terms of the top, I'm just going to start sketching some lines in. Now that's probably really hard to see, but I've started quite modest. I haven't really marked a huge amount of this out, so if I find that it's not enough I can take a bit more off. If I was to find that I'd marked it out further in and it was too much, I'm screwed. So I'm going to start off at this and we'll just see how we go. And in terms of removing the material, at this stage there's only a couple of tools I've got in mind. Firstly, my trusty Shinto saw rasp and an Irasaka half round carving file, which will be good for getting into all the radius areas. So I'm going to do no more than just get this stuck in the vise and start removing some material. Okay, so I've spent a bit of time now working the bulk of this bevel off. I'm really happy with this bit around here. Not convinced about this bit here, but I definitely need to take more off this horn area. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to concentrate on this and I'm going to put the bevel that I want onto both the top and the bottom of this horn, get it much nearer the shape that I want, and then from there I can decide where I want to go with this section. Okay, so I think that's kind of this area pretty much how I want it. There's probably a little bit of cleaning up to do there, but I need to be very, very careful around this layer of veneer because it is only about 1/2 mil thick. So I just need to kind of clean that up with my final fine sanding passes. So I'm going to leave that for the time being, but I do acknowledge that there's a bit of a sharp transition there that needs taking care of. There's a little bit of cleaning up to do around the bevel on the edge, which I'm going to tackle in a minute, but the first thing I want to sort out is this area here. I think I need to scoop out a lot more of this material, make that a lot more kind of concave and defined. So I'm going to set this up on the bench somehow, and I think I'm going to have to carve that with a combination of probably chisel and rasp. Okay, so I'm starting to work now with a kind of a reduced light, and it's kind of, I've got the light very low down, so it's casting some nice shadows onto the top of the guitar, and it's giving me like a modelling light, so I can see just how my contours are looking, and I am starting to become really quite pleased with this. It's not massively pronounced because I don't really have the facility to do that on this guitar, but it is kind of quite a nice subtle carve there. And what I've been doing, if I can find it, is I've been using this kidney shaped scraper, and I've scraped around the edge, and it's created kind of like a bit of a recurve around this edge, so it kind of dips in and comes up a little bit, and that really accentuates the carve. So now that I've got that pretty much how I want it, I'm just going to do some sanding. I've done some with an 80 grit pad. I'm now going to move up to a 100 grit pad and just start working my way through the grits until I get it exactly how I want it. Okay, so I'm relatively happy with the top half of the body. It's still going to take quite a lot of sanding to get it where I need it. But I'm going to save that until I've got the bottom a bit closer. But the bottom is going to present a problem to me in so much as we've got this chambered area running through here. And we've only got about 6 mil of material on the top. So I'm not going to be able to kind of do the chamfering and profiling that I've done in this area, a lot of that, unless it's just going to be too thin to be viable. But I can do all around this horn and this area here, which is roughly equivalent to where I've carved most of the material out here as well. I'm pretty confident that I can put a little bit of a radius on and scoop some of this out around the edge and then blend that all in, and we'll have something akin to what we've got on the top, just probably not quite so defined, but I'm not entirely sure that it has to be. So I'm going to start doing that now, just roughing out again with the Shinto and this carving rasp, and we'll see where we get to. Okay, so I think that's the carve pretty much done. It's still going to need finish sanding. It's sanded to maybe 120 at the moment. But overall, I'm really happy with that. I've had to sail quite close to the wind on this back section because obviously I've only got the thickness of a veneer here. But I think it's come out okay, looking quite nice. But overall, I'm really happy with that. Well, I think this is starting to come together quite nicely now. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments below? And while you're at it, if you enjoyed this, don't forget to leave me a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Okay, so with the top pretty much done, just ready for kind of finished sanding now, I'm going to turn my attention to the back. All I intend to do is to give it a gentle round over on most of it, but in this area here, I want to take quite a lot of the thickness out just to aid upper fret access. And to do that, I'm literally just going to sketch a line in of where I think this should be going. It only needs to be very a rough sketch at this stage. And with that sketched in, I'm now going to get some French curves and we can kind of formalise that area a little bit better. And you see there, I've kind of roughed that line a bit better. Now I'm going to be kind of scooping this out with a chisel and then maybe going at it with some rasps. But obviously I don't want to be chiselling this huge great big lump here out. Now all of this isn't really needed. I probably should have taken it out at an earlier point, but I didn't. So what I'm going to try and do is, as best as I can, cut this with a saw and then just take it out with a chisel. Okay, so I've done a little bit of work with the router here just to take some of the thick of the waste out that I need to get rid of. And I've set this up as best I can on my bench. Work holding is probably going to be a bit of an issue for this little section of what I'm doing. So now I'm just going to take some carving gouges and start to work out this section of material here. Okay, so that's that kind of transition area there roughed in. It's sanded to about 100 grit. So all that really leaves now on this back is to just kind of deal with this sharp edge. So I'm not really going to do a lot with this. I'll just put a chamfer around the edge and then rub a radius in with some sandpaper. Okay, so that's the round over done on the back of the body, and that's pretty much it for the back for the time being. So the next thing I need to do is to start to get the headstock sorted out. So I need to work out a shape for that and where the tuners are going to go. And as it stands, I haven't really got that much of an idea. However, before I can do any of that, I need to apply the veneer to the headstock the same as I've got down the centre of the body. So this is going to go exactly the same as it did on the body. Cut a suitable sized piece of veneer, get some tight bond onto the job, and then just clamp it down with some stout wooden cauls. Okay, so it's the next day. The glue's nice and dry on this veneer, so we're ready to crack on. I've spent a bit of time developing a headstock template. Now, I'm not much of a fan of pointy headstock guitars, but I think in this particular one, this shape works really, really well. And I also wanted to make sure that I had a bit of space in this area for something that I've got planned that you'll see in a future episode. So what I'm going to do now is stick this onto the headstock with super glue and masking tape, and we can get it marked out for both cutting out and drilling for the tuners. Okay, to mark this out, I'm simply going to put a pencil line around the perimeter. And these are 10mm holes, so I'm just taking a 10mm transfer punch. Just give them a tap to transfer that centre point where we need it. And with that I can get the template off, get this to the bandsaw and trimmed out to shape. Okay, so there it is. I wasn't 100% sure of that when I first cut it out, but two things: A, it's far too late to worry about that, and B, actually once it's cleaned up, I don't mind it. It looks good, kind of fits in quite well with the shape of the guitar. So all that leads me to do now is to break out a drill and get these tuner holes sorted out. There's no way I'm going to get through with that hand drill, so I'm bringing it to the drill press, but it's a bit of a nightmare because obviously all the angles involved make holding this very, very difficult, but we'll just have to see what we can do. Okay, so that's all drilled and cleaned up. So all that really leaves me to do now is to trial fit the tuners. And there we are, for this stage done. I think we've made some absolutely massive progress in this episode. Really is starting to come together now and starting to look much more like what I had in mind when I started gluing bits of wood together all those weeks ago. Okay, so that was quite a lot to get through in one episode, and it's taken me over a week to kind of complete the work, but I'm really happy with the progress. I'm not totally convinced about the headstock. Let me know what you think. I think the main problem at the moment is that the neck in that area is way thicker than it is actually going to be when the guitar's finished, and I think that is affecting the way that the headstock looks. So I'm not going to make any decision on that until I've kind of done the carving in that area. In terms of the overall weight of the guitar, which I know was a concern for some people, myself included, it's currently about 4 kilos, so that's 8.8 pounds in old money, and that's including the tuners. And there's still a lot of material to come off the neck, so I think we're going to come down to a really decent weight in the end. However, it has become apparent that just with the sheer quantity of work that I've got left to do, there is no way realistically I can get that into another 2 episodes. So I'm going to push that out to 3. I'm going to cheat a little bit, true to form. So this series will go to 7 episodes now. So I'll be back very, very shortly with episode 5. If you've enjoyed this, please leave a like. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.